Welcome back, YouTube. I'm Edwin.
And I'm Joseph.
And this is
Edwin and Joseph Talks.
So last week we covered Halloween, or you covered Halloween. You did a pretty good job on it. So I know we're a little late on it. By the time this airs, it'll be Wednesday the 6th, so we're 4 days out. But I'm going to go ahead and give the history on my end of the things, which would be Day of the Dead, Día de Muertos. It's not going to be, it's just a little bit of history on the background and how things came about and, the origins of it. So, as everybody knows, it's a Mexican holiday, and it's a holiday where families reunite and welcome back with the spirits of their dead, diseased loved ones. The way that works is they normally, in today's tradition, they go to the graves of their loved ones and they leave favorite foods, drinks, and then they light candles and put flowers around the graves. And it's more of a celebration. Like the way they believe it is, it's not, the dead doesn't want mourning and sorrow. They want, a celebration of who they were and what they were. So a lot of people go and they have, I don't want to call it a party. It's kind of like a party festival thing. I just don't want to call it that. But, they'll, like I said, they'll take food and drinks and they'll celebrate like the life of the person who they lost. So Day of the Dead normally starts on the 31st of October, which is Halloween-ish, but I'll explain that in a minute, and it goes through until the 2nd of November. And the way it works is it's believed there's 2 days, actually, that make up Dia de los Muertos. The first day is Day of the Innocent, and it's believed that at midnight on October 31st, which is technically the 1st of November, that's when the gates of heaven open and the spirits of lost children are able to reunite with their families. And they get 24 hours to come back to, the plains of earth and celebrate with the families and take part of like their favorite meals and stuff. And then on November 2nd, which would be midnight on the 1st, it's believed that's when the adults are able to cross over, come back and spend time with their families. And same thing, like reunite with favorite foods. They have music, and it's legit like almost like a graveyard party, but not in a disrespectful way.
It's kind of how, from what it sounds like, how the Catholics have like All Saints Day.
And I'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
No, that goes into it actually. Okay. So the origins is actually a blend of Mesoamerican, which is before the Colombians came towards the Spanish side and stuff. European religion, and of course Spanish culture traditions. It's all mixed up, and that's what makes a celebration of Day of the Dead. The roots go back as far as 3,000 years with Aztec rituals where they would celebrate their deceased families and stuff. Only with them it was more of like they did the food and stuff, but it wasn't like they didn't do a celebration. It was weird rituals that they did where they would set out the food, the drinks, and then do like their little prayer stuff. Like it was a whole different celebration thing. And they viewed it, the way they viewed the universe, and I hope I'm pronouncing this word right, it's a cyclical view, meaning that they didn't see death as the end of somebody. It was more of like another journey of life.
Yeah.
Because even though they believe that even though you were dead, you still contributed in some way, to your family and to life. And then here's where it starts coming into your area, where you just mentioned the
All Saints Day.
The All Saints Day. So the way that happened is back in, before we get to that, so I was talking about the whole, food and things. The way that adapted to now is back then they would do the food. They would set food, water, and tools to help aid the spirits through their journey. And that transformed into how we celebrate today, where it's like the food, the water, the celebration, and they do that in 2 ways now. It's either the grave or they do homemade like altars, makeshift altars. And they call them ofrendas, and that's where they put like the picture, the candles, the food. It's an offering. And then here's where it gets into that, what you were talking about. So in ancient Europe, the pagans celebrated death with bonfires, dancing, and feasting.
Yeah.
And it continued like that up until the Roman Catholic Church started, rising up, and they unofficially adopted it and turned it into two minor holidays known as All Saints Day and All Souls Days. And that's where that comes from. And that's where they separated, like, All Saints Days is where the children cross over, and then All Souls Days is when the adults cross over. Yeah. So that's where that origin comes from. And then in medieval Spain, when the conquistadors came over and they started, bringing their traditions and their religion and stuff, they brought it over with them and started teaching the people, on this side about it. But with them, death was a lot darker, and they didn't celebrate it as much because they had just went through the bubonic plague. Oh. So they viewed it as a darker thing, whereas before that, death was just another journey through your life.
Until you get a plague.
Until you get a plague, and then it all goes downhill. So there's actually, I believe, too, and I believe this one originates through the Aztec one, where when your soul dies, before you get to actually rest, you go through 9 challenges. You arrive to the land of the dead, and there's 9 challenges your spirit goes through, which takes actually a couple years, years to go through. And you have to succeed and pass each challenge before your soul gets to the final resting place, the land where your soul just, gets to relax. And that's where the tradition with the food and the tools came from too, because people would leave these things for people to be able to make their journey through the 9 challenges or whatever. And then, of course, today, the way it's celebrated is, rather than it being, down because of death and all that, now you live out here, you see the Hispanic culture. Mm-hmm. It's skeletons and the sugar skulls. Yeah. But they're never, they don't ever look down. They don't ever they're always in a joyful expression. Like, they're celebrating life, they're loving life. And again, that goes back to how the people that the Aztecs and the people from back then, they never saw death as a negative thing. They never saw it. So they believed that your spirit, when you died, never wanted you to mourn, never wanted you to feel sorrow, because they wanted you to celebrate who they were. Yeah. And that's why every time you see Day of the Dead now, you go to Mexico and they have parades. They have people that dress up in the sugar skull.
Is it Mexico? I can't remember. I want, this might even be more South American. There's areas where they actually bring the bodies out. You know what I'm talking about? Do they do that? Is that part of, or is that just another?
I don't think that's Mexico. Because
that might be South America.
Well, with the thing with Day of the Dead is there's a lot of Hispanic cultures that celebrate it, but its origins always trace back to Mexico. That's where it originated from. That's, with the Aztecs and the people from back then, that's what they started. But there's always been different Hispanic cultures that celebrate it, and they always have their own thing that they throw in. And I think that might be one of the more South American countries or something like that maybe do that.
I have to look at that, because that's bizarre.
Yeah, it is. Do
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, no, I've heard about it.
Yeah, I've seen it. I'm just oh.
Every Day of the Dead celebration that I've ever either been around or have heard about, I've never heard about bodies being exhumed.
They've never brought out their grandma.
I've never had grandma come out of the grave or anything like that. That's crazy. Yeah, but I just kind of wanted to throw my own little thing out there. We did Halloween, and this kind of goes into Halloween because it does start the 31st, but it starts the 31st at midnight, which would be the 1st of November. Yeah. And there's a lot of good movies you can, if you want to just kind of get a cartoony version of it. You got Coco and Book of Life to do that, and there's a few other movies that'll throw in different history parts. But I do want to it's the celebration has just gone from one thing to another, because it talked about, the Europeans came over and brought the Roman Catholic, they split that into 2 days. Yeah. So it's got a bunch of different meanings, but that one about the bodies I've never heard of, dude.
Okay, well, I know that there's specific areas. I want to say it's not Mexico. It's like Brazil, like South America and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I want to say it's maybe there that they do that. Where
That might be down because I mean when my grandma was alive and we did that, like we did a few, Day of the Deads for like uncles and stuff that had passed. And I always remember she would have like the little altar shrine looking thing.
I've seen those, yeah.
Yeah, and it was literally just like pictures of the people, and they would have like little knickknacks and stuff that they loved in life, and then she would put like a plate of their favorite food, and I remember all that, but like I've never heard of the.
Yeah, okay. I'm just
no. That's actually kind of cool because I never heard about that. But yeah, I think this will conclude that. I just wanted to give a little history on it, and sorry it's a little late, but that's it. Good.
All right. Well,
All right.
like, comment, subscribe.
Sorry,
Give
it was
us-
just kind of shoot through, but
Give us those ideas that you guys want to hear about. And with that, we'll catch you guys next time.